This is Smoking Out the Closet. Now, here are your hosts.
Hi, I'm Rayven. I use she, her pronouns.
I am Asmodeus. I use they, them pronouns.
And welcome back to another episode of
Smoking Out the Closet.
For those of you who are new or just joining us, we are a queer podcast.
Pun intended.
It talks about cannabis,
The LGBT community,
and everything in between.
and beyond.
So welcome.
Welcome.
First and foremost, I want to apologize for our little 2-week hiatus. 1 week I did get sick really badly, and then the week after my work schedule was just a clusterfuck.
Yeah.
So unfortunately we couldn't record like we normally do. But that being said, we are back, hopefully, to our normal schedule as far as we are aware. Do you want to talk about the weed? Or wait, it's my turn to pick, wasn't it?
Yeah, you picked it.
So I got a country eighth. This was Colombiana, which seemed interesting. It has 23.68 THCA, 0.56% THC, has CBGA at 1.1, and CBCA, which is something I don't normally see, 0.23%. Its terpene profile was a little lackluster. Caryophyllene B is highest at 0.39%, and limonene 0.36. Everything was 0.14 or lower. So very lackluster on the terpene profile there. But I mean, it was a great cure. Everything looked nice on it. It wasn't dry or crusty, anything like that. It was just kind of meh.
Yeah. And you had a very delayed reaction with it, and I feel like I did too. And it was weird because when you were saying it, it was like, wow, a wave of it just hit me. I'm like, I was thinking there's no way. It's been so long. But when I was in the car, I was like, this feels like a very long time, and now I just feel like I'm in a great mood.
Mm-hmm.
But also, it might have just been because I was outside and the sun was shining too. Like,
yeah, there's probably a lot of factors in everything.
But I really didn't feel a whole lot of anything from the weed itself.
No, I didn't really feel much other than I ate a lot of sugary stuff, so maybe I was having a sugar rush that pushed it beyond. So I gave this a 3 out of 5 because it's a pretty nice, like, there's subtle medical effects, like my ankle wasn't hurting.
Yeah. I don't know. I at least look for, like, if it doesn't give me any mental effects, maybe like loosen my joints and shit up a little bit. Just because that's also why I smoke, because I just feel like I'm very tight as a human being. Just
like a toy guy.
Yes. I feel like I would benefit from like a weekly massage kind of thing because I'm very tense.
Yeah.
Present tense. But I'm sorry. That was
such a bad dad joke.
I love that joke though. It's one of my favorites. Yeah, anyway. Wasn't the biggest fan. I don't know. It's kind of sad because I've had some good country stuff too. It's just this one was subpar. Bring back your Girl Scout cookies, please.
Not a lot of people are eating Girl Scout cookies right now. I think it's only really like Cresco, Trulieve, and Rhythm. I think the only ones that are making Girl Scout cookies right now. Maybe Insa, but I don't think it's a lot of other people.
Grassroots has a Girl Scout cookies disposable right now.
Yeah, that's Carolee.
Yeah. I keep forgetting and I keep being upset about it.
What would you rate this?
I said 2.5.
2.5?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm just not very impressed. The taste didn't blow me away. I didn't really feel much at first. I didn't really feel much after. I don't know. It's not. I tried to stretch. It was like first thing in the morning too when we smoked. So I was like, cool, first thing in the morning is gonna be nice, and I'm gonna be, loosen up, stretch. That's why I smoke in the morning, and then I try to do a creative thing. Whether it be like read poetry or just read or, write, whatever, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I just even couldn't stretch like my back out, because I stand a lot at work. But yeah, I don't know. Just didn't do a whole lot of anything for me.
Yeah, I didn't do a whole lot for me either. I gave it a 3 out of 5, just because, like, I did take off some of the physical pain, and I was feeling a little more bubbly than normal. Very much, I think the cure and just the little of the effects that there are there kind of saved it a little bit. But like, this would be something I would definitely recommend who's someone who's very sensitive with weed. I feel like, and for me, who thanks to my like hormone therapy, I don't really need a whole heck of a lot to feel it. So like, those were just kind of nice. Like, okay, I'm ready for the day. I'm not super high, but I'm ready to kind of get the day started. And if I start hurting more, I'm gonna take something else, kind of
Yeah.
thing.
I don't know. I definitely do feel like it would be good for like with your coffee, or if you do have something to do kind of quickly.
Yeah, it's a good wake and bake.
Yeah, my tolerance right now is crazy with flour. I probably should just stop smoking flour for a while.
We should go with the concentrates for a bit for reviews. I feel like.
Yeah, we need to find a good way for me to do them. It's not gonna like rip my throat up though. Because concentrates, when I do dabs, it doesn't matter. Like e-rig, whatever.
Yeah,
My throat does not like dabs. Dabs don't like my throat.
that's
One way
fair.
or the other, I don't know.
I think we have to put it at a lower temperature for you then.
Alrighty, I'll figure it out.
Hey, Puffco, sponsor the podcast and we'll review it.
Yeah, we'll do a proxy.
Can I do a little shout out that is also kind of a topic of mine?
Yeah, but real quick, can I say something about Puffco before we move on?
Yeah,
Didn't their third gen peak come out recently?
I think so.
That's what I thought. I don't even know what's different on those.
3D atomizer, 3D atomized chamber. I know that.
Ooh.
And then something with how it's made. It's a specific material.
Hopefully they got their battery fixed.
Gee, I hope. They had a bad stint with that for a minute.
One can only hope. Okay, cool beans. We can move on now.
Okay. So shout out to the Balanced Veteran Network. Been talking to them lately. They are a veteran organization that is pro cannabis to try helping vets live healthier lifestyles. And they are very pro cannabis because they believe that, or they're part of the group that subscribes, being like, hey, we see a lot of vets use this for like PTSD or pain related to service connected disabilities. We are trying to push that to help them. And specifically, they have this thing called Operation 1620 or 1620. So big shout out to the Balanced Veteran Network, trying to work with them with our podcast in some facet. We'd love to have them on. We are talking with them, so keep an eye out on that. But Operation 1620 is a medical cannabis initiative of the Balanced Veterans Network. Medical cannabis is a proven, safe, and common sense personal health management option. It is now legal in most states and is recognized by medical experts as a safe alternative to many federal legal treatments. Medical cannabis is an incredibly effective tool for veterans challenged with managing their symptoms of their wounds. Unfortunately, access, affordability, and support are unavailable to all, but we will continue to advocate for this medical resource. Education around balance and safe use helps optimize your health journey post-service. While you cannot get addicted to cannabis, you can overuse, and establishing a healthy relationship with all modalities you choose is essential. Our network provides veterans with resources to determine if cannabis is the right fit. We aim to educate, normalize, and break the stigma around this plant and assist veterans in acquiring the appropriate modalities for their needs. And they do a lot. They also, from my understanding, from what someone has told me, outside of the organization, that they will also reimburse veterans for like the medical fee if you have to pay for the state to pay for that, so which is really good in my opinion.
That is good.
But they're also pushing for cannabis to not be as federally scheduled.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if they're okay with it being Schedule 3 or they want it completely descheduled. I don't know. That is something I want to ask them when we do have them on our show, putting that out there into the universe. But yeah, definitely want to talk to them. They're a great group. I did talk to some of them, just kind of one-on-one, sharing what our show's about, what they do, what we do, kind of thing. So I'm very excited to kind of talk to them and everything.
Yeah, it's gonna be fun.
So big shout out to them. Is there a topic you want to bring up? Because they're kind of my schedule for the week, the whole thing.
Nice.
And if you are a veteran, I will say there was a website, there was a Facebook group, and there is an app. Please join all of those, especially if you're interested in Operation 1620, to kind of get connected with a lot of other people and kind of just talk about, being a vet and smoking weed.
Alrighty, so as of recording, I want to put the date out here for the beginning of all of our articles. I feel like that would be a handy thing to do going forward, so that way when we're talking about articles, we know in reference as to when we're recording and when this is releasing. So today's the 24th as of recording. This article was published on the 20th of March. Pennsylvania Joint Committee takes up marijuana legalization as governor renews a push for reform. Now, Pennsylvania has been going back and forth and reforming and reviewing all of their adult use proposals, right? And this time they focused on criminal justice implications of prohibition and the potential benefits of reform. The governor has stepped up his push for legalization, including policy change in his budget request last month. Members of the Health Subcommittee on Healthcare and Judiciary Subcommittee on Crime and Corrections met to take up this issue on Wednesday. So that would have been. Let me bring up my calendar. Wednesday would have been what day?
The 20th?
The 13th. Yeah, the 20th. So the day it was written, I guess. I think we are all really well positioned to move forward with legislation. Representative Dan Franklin, Democrat, chair of the Full Health Committee, who previously had sponsored cannabis legalization legislation, he said at the beginning of the meeting. They stressed that criminal justice components of legalization and expunging prior records is one area lawmakers, quote, really need to get right and get right on the first time, given what we know about the criminalization of cannabis and the ways it has impacted Black and Brown communities, working class communities, and in the way which records still carry a burden. Which, kudos, good. Everybody's complaining it's taking so long, but I'm glad it's taking longer because this is what we're focusing on. This is absolutely fucking what we're supposed to be doing. This is important as fuck. Whenever we're like, hey, they're gonna legalize it, and I'm glad that they recognize that like this is still a problem for people, and it's not something that every state that has gone, rec has figured out off the bat, and they have stumbled and fell more times than they've just picked up and soared with their adult use program.
Yeah, and there's been times where like something's been pushed just medically super fast, and you end up with a monopoly in the state for a cannabis company, which I'm going to talk about a little later in another topic. But yeah, there's a lot of downsides in it, and if they're gonna take their time and make sure it's right, I would gladly love to see things that like helping people get out of jail, like like California was supposed to originally. Things where like social equity is happening a lot easier than like say New York, which that took forever. Not for the legislators' fault. There was a lot of we've talked about it in the past. There was a lot of hiccups with that. But like social equity and getting people out of jail, I feel like are big things we definitely need to get people for.
Representative Emily Kinkead?
I think so.
I apologize if I mispronounced your last name. Said that we have criminalized whole groups of people for the use of marijuana at far greater rate than we have other groups, referencing racial disparities in enforcement. Now the groups that did not get criminalized are making incredible profit off of legalized marijuana, she said. Pardon me. This is not the strain that we had smoked earlier that I'm on right now, but the one that we are as the Tropicana seed from the other episode is giving me really bad dry mouth. So excuse me.
Yeah, we smoked the Colombiana earlier, and it was just It was not enough for Asmodeus at all. I mean, it wasn't really enough for me.
No, and then I was starving and we couldn't record the podcast because you would be able to hear my stomach. And I'm starting to get hungry again, and I'm afraid that might happen again. So during the break, I might have to get up and get a snack.
That's fair.
But yeah, it's important. This is great that this is what they're talking about right now. Is like making sure that this is in place before we are just like, here we go. Because then that way, I don't know. It's better for everyone. I feel like if everything is all set out and there's no more hiccups and like everybody who is affected by this it all gets resolved all at once.
Exactly, because remember last year a parent, I believe it was a father, was arrested because of either a grow or like a small little grow he had, or like some flower was like something was really close to where his kids play. Evidently, like a kid's toy was like thrown in near wherever the weed was.
Yeah.
And he got arrested and put in on a trial for that.
Jeez.
And I can't find anything followed up since on that one, but like it was bad. And I'm like, if we can get that shit taken care of, we take care of a lot of shit. Because like people are just using it to help them, or those who are helping their kids with it are doing it medicinally. Like, kids with like autism or kids who are prone to seizure or whatever. Like, this stuff helps. And it's ridiculous that it's something that not only our founding fathers literally have been a major part of. Like, Thomas Jefferson was a cultivator and a breeder for weed and hemp.
The stuff they don't tell you in high school history class.
Right. But not only that, but like it wasn't until the 1930s when stuff started getting like, oh, we gotta stop using the weed. Like literally during the westward expansion, there was hash-based cough medicine.
Yeah.
And people are gonna be like, oh, what about the cocaine gum? What about the cocaine gum? Okay. Yes.
What about the Coca-Cola?
Yeah, like, yes, there were some things that weren't the greatest. But really, out of all the things you could have done, like there's still cocaine's like scheduled 2 or 3, maybe 4. I can't remember. But like it's lower than weed.
Yeah.
And you're gonna have weed up there with like heroin?
No.
That makes no sense to me.
Absolutely not.
It makes no sense. Is there anything else you want to talk about on that?
Not really. I just wanted to bring that to the attention of that. That is an important part of what they are discussing right now, and that is what that most recent meeting was about. I didn't really scroll down the bottom to see if they had any. Let's see if they had any. The last prisoner project was there, and they were talking. Well, I was just talking about the people who were there and what they were talking about, and basically it's just the same thing from different people. That we have to take care of the racial disparities with black and brown people in Pennsylvania because they're criminalized at a higher rate for marijuana than others are, and I feel like that's just that is the main thing that they met again, which was important, and the fact that this is what it was about because I don't know. I feel like, in a way, it's kind of sad that I just have to say, "Hey, look at this thing they did. That's a human thing to do."
Yeah.
But the fact that it's a human thing to do, and in Pennsylvania, I feel like we're a little slower on some things.
Oh, yeah.
So this is really progressive for Pennsylvania, to be like, "Hey, we're gonna do this."
Okay.
So yeah.
So I'll go into that topic that I kind of teased while you were talking about yours. Trulieve in Florida. Okay, so this is all alleged. So I will say it with legal safety terms here. Allegedly, a whistleblower from Trulieve, or that worked at Trulieve, has released video evidence of one of their grow facilities in Florida. Now, for those of you who don't know, Trulieve is like the top dog in Florida. Like it is the biggest grow in Florida.
Yeah.
It is them, Move, which is owned by Verano Holdings, and I think maybe one other company. But
Air is in Florida.
Air is in Florida?
Air is in Florida.
Okay. But like for like every one of the like Move or Air that's in Florida, there's like 5 or 6 Trulieve dispensaries. Like it's a really high number of how much there are Trulieves in Florida. And there's video evidence of someone going into a facility. There's poor flower, like they definitely look like they have yellow spots on them and yellow growing on it. There's mold growing on the buds. There's algae growing on the floor and everything
You
kind
showed me
of.
that, and it was just that's so disgusting.
It is. It is like green.
Ugh.
Like it is legit like algae and mold
If
growing
you
on the
told
tiles of
me
the floors.
that was a grow facility, at first I would have been like, that is a like food safety hazard in a kitchen.
Oh yeah.
Because that's like the level of like if you let grease and shit and food debris sit like that,
Mhm.
that kind of mold grows. That's the kind of mold and shit you're dealing with at these grows.
Yeah.
What the fuck are you doing?
And apparently there was a ton of reports against Trulieve from not only growers themselves, but also patients who were getting this. They were complaining of headaches, really bad reactions to everything. And it wasn't until Wilton Simpson, who was one of the heads of the cannabis board in Florida, all of a sudden he was looking at them and then all the reports disappeared. All that public information just disappeared.
Oh wow.
So what's really interesting about this is Trulieve is partnered in Florida with 2 major people. One is Khalifa. Wiz Khalifa, not only here in Pennsylvania, also in a lot of other states tied with Trulieve, which Wiz Khalifa, get some better fucking company to work with. I'm sorry, I've called you out on Twitter before. I've called you out on this podcast before. Get some better freaking weed, all right? Like, you're getting boofiest boof to work with. Allegedly, the boofiest boof of boof.
Allegedly. I
Um,
mean, there's a reason we don't review it on the podcast.
but
Just saying.
allegedly, so Wilton Simpson is really good friends with Trulieve's brand partner, the Bellamy brothers, and there's a photo of him with the brothers. So that definitely screams of corporate corruption in my eyes and government corruption. This is all hearsay. This is all like my personal take on everything, but this does not bode well for me. This definitely does not scream something that's kosher.
Yeah.
And we need to make sure that like these companies aren't getting away with this stuff because it's not good. It is not good at all. Like we can't have these companies putting out these products that are going to get people hurt. They're going to get people sick.
Or even worse, die. You're gonna kill people if you don't treat them properly with the right kind of pesticides or the right, you don't kill all the bacteria. Somebody smokes mold, like you can kill people.
And Trulieve's already gone on record and killed someone, so I mean,
Don't start tallying. Come on.
yeah, like this is not Call of Duty, Trulieve. Like we're not trying to get a KD score with weed, okay?
No.
Like, and the funny thing is, I feel like Trulieve is gonna start going out the way Mad Men did.
Yeah.
Like Mad Men has all but 2 stores now. They closed all their other stores because they were creating subpar products. They got caught in shit with shit like this, and they got in trouble. And their stock is unsellable now. It's 0.
Jeez.
You cannot buy or sell Mad Men stock, and they are hanging on by a thread. And I feel like Trulieve is going to go down this route. And now Trulieve, with it being so tied to Florida, that's where my biggest worry is, because flashback to a few months ago, like almost a year ago, I should say at this point. I called out Trulieve for supporting non-home grow bills and saying that they're against home grow. And Kim Rivers, the CEO, was like, "No, we like home grow. Here, look at Michigan." I'm like, "Oh, you mean the state that that was in how the bill was written? You have to support home grow. That you have to provide products for it."
Look at this place where we're forced to do this thing, aren't we? Aren't you proud of us for doing the thing we have to do?
But you notice in all the measures that Trulieve is pushing for rec weed. Trulieve is in the back pocket of the government in Florida to go recreational because they're the one that's pretty much going to only benefit from it.
Yeah.
And they are blocking and supporting those who are blocking homegrown legislation being added to it. So, once again, I'm going to call out Kim Rivers. Quit your crap. Okay? I'm looking at the camera that we don't use for this podcast because that video only right now. And you don't see my face. Kim, stop your crap. Stop being a jerk. Make better weed. Stop with all this corner cutting. Because it's going to not only hurt you, but it's going to hurt a lot of other people who use your products. And I feel bad for anybody who uses medical weed in Florida. Because, like, taking out the governor issues of Florida and everything, like, pre-DeSantis, Florida's beautiful.
Yeah.
I mean, you have the Florida guy, obviously, here and there, but that's Florida.
Florida guy.
But, like, you go down to the Everglades, you go to the Panhandle, or, like, the Gulf side of Florida. You imagine you're just, like, sitting there. You're in, like, kind of, like, this, like, bayou, kind of swampy, semi-swampy area. You're in marshland. You light up a joint, and you just watch the sunrise.
Okay.
There's, like, a heron flying over, like, the way, and you hear just birds chirping, and just the calmness of the water. You have any idea how fucking amazing that would be?
Yeah. That would be awesome.
But we can't have that because shit like this is going on.
Mm-hmm.
Is there anything you want to add to that?
No.
Okay. I think we're going to take a break a little early here.
Okay.
But we will be back after I talk about one of our affiliate programs. Pretty in pink and purely wood pulp derived, Blazy Susan pink rolling papers and cones will add a pop of color to your next smoke sesh. Their classic pink papers are naturally dyed, vegan, GMO free, and food safe. They contain no amounts of heavy metals or pesticides unlike other paper producers. Care about what goes in your lungs with Blazy Susan papers and cones. Use promo code BGSOTC20 at checkout to get 20% off with your friends at Smoking Out the Closet. Plus, get free shipping on orders over $50 in the United States. And we are back.
Woo!
I believe it's your turn for the next topic.
It is. So I found this article also on Marijuana Moment. Our friends over there. Says CBD has potential to manage symptoms of alcohol use disorder. New scientific review finds a new review of scientific literature around CBD and its effects suggests that the cannabinoid could be useful in managing symptoms of alcohol use disorder, or AUD, by modulating brain networks that perpetuate addiction.
Huh.
The review from authors at the University of Sydney and local health districts in the Australian city attempts to, quote, theorize potential neurobiological mechanisms by which CBD may ameliorate various symptoms of AUD.
That's good because, like, I've seen people who come into my dispensary who were alcoholics and they were so gaunt, and now here they are, like 6 months later, and they're starting to get like filling in their face and everything. They're starting to look healthier. They have a glow, and that's another thing I really want to push for, like helping veterans, because there's a huge alcoholism problem with vets.
Yeah.
I mean, and I will say places like, as much as I'm a newer member to the American Legion, but I know also the VFW has bars in it. Like the whole just having a bar thing, it's not always the best.
Yeah. Alright, it's pronounced ameliorate. I had to look it up. That's
okay.
a good word. It's something that means to make better.
Hashtag word of the day.
Yeah, ameliorate. Previous research suggests that CBD may affect salience, reward emotion generation, and regulation and executive control, including inhibition control, working memory, and self-monitoring processes. The report, which was published on Thursday in the Journal of Cannabis Research, says, quote, these processes are highly relevant to alcohol-seeking behaviors, suggesting CBD may have potential in the management of alcohol use disorder. It appears to modulate neurotransmitter systems and functional connections in the brain regions implicated in alcohol use disorder, suggesting CBD may be used to manage symptomatology. So it's going to manage the symptoms of alcohol use disorder while you're in recovery and your brain is fixing itself, basically.
Well, that's good.
To conduct the review, researchers looked at previously published neuroimaging studies involving effects of CBD on healthy brains, examining how the cannabinoid affected the brain activity as well as subjective measures like anxiety and mental sedation. Although not supported by the studies presented, they wrote, the majority of the neuroimaging literature presented in this systematic review suggests that CBD may normalize these processes through its effect on mesocortico-limbic salience and frontostriatal signaling. A bunch of very fancy neurotransmitters that do important things in the brain, like addiction-seeking behavior. Those are the ones that are responsible for those. The finding adds further weight in the idea that cannabinoids such as CBD might be useful in treating substance use disorders and explain the mechanisms behind the benefit. There's a well-researched link between chronic alcohol use impairment rewarding process, the salience attribution, emotion regulation, and executive function, including inhibition control, working memory, and self-monitoring through perturbation in various brain networks implicated in the development and maintenance of AUD. Study says adding as previously suggested that CBD may normalize the perturbed neurocircuitry and subsequently support positive behavioral changes. So it'll basically support the brain misfiring and because your baby becomes physically dependent on alcohol, and then when it's not there, it doesn't know how to function again, right? And the CBD is going to step in instead of the alcohol essentially and help your brain work. That's what they have seen is it connects to those addiction seeking reward system things, and it feeds in the same manner, but CBD is by no means addictive.
And that's the good thing, and that's the thing that I really hope we get more science and study on, because it can help a lot of people. And the people at the Legion ask me why I don't drink a whole lot. It's because I've had people who are alcoholics in my family who sadly are no longer with us because they couldn't stop. And it's hard. It's hard to grow up with that. It's hard to, kind of just seeing that happen to someone. And I don't want to go down that same route. And I'm really glad I have weed to do that, you know? But I've also seen a lot of friends of mine who are in the military go down that route as well. And I've seen other vets who've been strong enough to say no because they know once they start drinking, they know what kind of memories are gonna pop up for them, and kind of just the things that are going to be really bad for them if they do start drinking. So I'm really glad that we have this kind of study. Of course, every study we need to take with a grain of salt because a lot of things need to be verified and checked and everything. And we're still in the early stages of these studies and everything, but it's good. It's a good baseline and a good precedence for us to find more and to get more stuff narrowed down and tweaked and proven, and hopefully used as kind of a good source for us to get stuff legalized, not just in America, but everywhere.
Yeah.
Because it's stupid.
Also, can I just point out, everybody overlooks CBD, and it is gorgeous. I cannot stop. I'm going to dust my soapbox off here a second. CBD and limonene together will get rid of your anxiety. It'll bring back your appetite. It'll make you look at the sky and go, God, everything is beautiful. and it'll help with even like if you have general like aches and pains, or if it's cold outside and you have arthritis flaring up. CBD can be used in like topicals, and it helps with inflammation. And it's everybody, I feel like, just kind of goes and brushes it away.
Oh yeah, because it's not THC. Because for so long everyone's been like THC is the end all be all, but it's not.
No.
But I would also like this shout out CBG.
Yes.
Because CBG is like the mother of all cannabinoids.
I love CBG.
And it does what CBD does, but more too.
Yeah. It's definitely, I have like tummy issues. Lactose intolerant. You know, the meat thing, whatever, right? Even like sometimes my tongue just gets angry, and it's just like, cool. Well, I had one of those CBG organic remedies, 1-to-1s, and like they work pretty fast. And it was just 10 milligrams, but my stomach just felt calm. It basically worked like a Tums. It took a little bit longer, but it lasted longer, right? Yeah. It wasn't a whole lot of like head feeling because it wasn't a whole lot of THC, but it helped with like my anxiety was gone. I was just a nice, just uplifted, little buzzy feeling, and my stomach felt fine. And
it's also nano emulsion too with the organic remedy, so it doesn't break down in the stomach acid and it gets absorbed through the stomach. It gets broken down and absorbed through the intestinal wall. So it does hit a little bit of different receptors through that, which can hit you a little faster than just being digested.
Yeah.
So just so everyone's aware.
Yeah, I will say I think onset for those for me is about 45 minutes.
Yeah. I think they're usually like 30 to 45 to an hour at the longest for a lot of people.
Yeah, or if you don't eat enough food, whenever you eat enough food, then they hit you.
Yeah.
I have noticed that recently when I'm at work.
Yeah.
Because I've been eating a lot of turkeys, and I'll eat food, and then I'm like, oh, wait a minute.
I tell everybody this all the time. Eat it with food. Take it with food.
Yes.
It needs something to attach to a lot easier. Now, some like the capsules, like the RSO capsules, they're made with like coconut oil. Like the capsule itself is coconut oil. But still, eat it with food. Make sure it has something extra, just in case the coconut oil is not enough.
Yeah. Help. Just go buy yourself a little treat, little candy bar or something. Treat yourself with your medication.
I'm just thinking because like you're always like, no, I don't need it. I don't need it. Treat yourself.
No, you're looking at me like, take your own advice. I know it's easier to me to tell Yins to do it than me to do it. I am excited for my tattoo.
Yeah. Do you want to talk about your tattoo real fast?
Yeah,
as a little blurb.
I don't know if I ever talked about my 420 flash to tattoo. My 420 flash tattoo that I got last year on April 21st, because I had to work 420. But it's so cute because I love fucking Pokemon, and Raven loves Pokemon too. And this has inadvertently become my gamer sleeve because I also have my Life is Strange tattoos on this side, but it's Bulbasaur in like the traditional like Pokemon style, right? And then on the back it has, instead of his little bud, it is a weed bud instead of a flower bud. And I love it so much. And I'm going back to the artist who did it for me last year, and I was like, hey, he was like recommended like 9 months at minimum for the line work to heal before I get it tattooed. He's like, probably you could get away with like 10 months. I'm like, cool. So it's been almost a year, and I'm just like, hey man, I want to get color put in. So I'm gonna go on Tuesday and get color put into my Bulbasaur tattoo. I'm so excited. I hope he does I'm excited to see what he does, but like maybe I'll say, hey, can I get some purple accents in here? The little hair guys are probably going to be orange. We kind of talked about it when I got it, so
yeah,
that's exciting.
It's going to be when this episode drops and everyone's going to be able to start listening to it. The tattoo's going to be done already.
Yes, so when this episode is out, the tattoo will be done because my tattoo appointment is at 6 p.m. These episodes drop at 8. So if you follow me on my personal Instagram, or
we can put on the show's
Instagram, you will see my finished tattoo. I'm so excited. I'll probably touch the lens up while he's in there. But oh my god, Phineas, frick! Can I go on that little story real quick?
Yeah.
So I was sitting with
your cat,
my cat, and my partner, and he was just like chilling on my arm, and then he jumps up and bolts like after his brother, and had scratched me on Bulby on Budbasor is what I usually call him. On Budbasor, and scratched in where the color was going to go, my tattoo. And I'm like, holy shit. Oh my god, no. I already have this tattoo appointment booked. I don't want to have to, like, reschedule it again. Because I had to work on tomorrow, Monday. I'm like, crap. So, I was just really hoping, like, it would heal. And it did. And I'm so excited to get my color put in. I've just been lotioning it a whole bunch. Just to keep the area moisturized, too. Because I feel like it'll heal faster if the area is really nice and moisturized, and then just keeping an eye on that little scratch. It's completely gone, pretty much.
Yeah.
But I'm so excited for my weed tattoo. Because, like, I really like Pokemon, and Pokemon's been there through a lot in my life. And so is weed. And I like to smoke weed while I play Pokemon!
I feel like there's a lot of stoners out there that play Pokemon.
Yeah.
If you're a stoner who plays Pokemon, hit us up on our social media.
Can we put that in the survey in the Spotify?
Yeah,
notes?
I'll put that in.
If you are a stoner trainer,
do you play Pokemon and smoke weed?
Yeah.
Yes or no?
Yes or no?
So I have another topic, and it's been kind of going around TikTok for a minute. So it says POV, you just called out a white person for a microaggression, and they get defensive. And I'm going to try to read this as fast as it says in the video. I tried doing a prototype recording with this, and you can't really hear it from our mics, so I'm just going to say it. I am a white transmasculine femme, non-binary, temporarily mostly able-bodied, neurodivergent, obsessive-compulsive, chronically ill, culturally Jewish, Unitarian Universalist, non-monogamous, demi-low, romantic gray demi-body, survivor of acute and complex trauma, millennial, and a cat parent in mental recovery.
That is a mouthful.
Yes, and so the reason I'm bringing this up is because the TikToker Decolonizing Love brought up an amazing point, and as well, we do have another platform. I also kind of want to share this to a lot of people and kind of amplify it. And I will say first and foremost, if you guys have never seen our Instagram or anything, or if you haven't heard the episodes where we talk about it, we are white as all get out.
Yes.
Like Asmodeus is 50 Shades of Mayonnaise.
I have the paperwork to prove it now.
And like my family history is mostly from the British Isles, so like we're white as hell. But I've always been in the camp, and I think this is partially how I grew up, is if I ever say, and we'll say this again and time and again, even on this podcast, if we ever say anything that is either going to offend someone or is considered culturally insensitive or anything like that, please call us out on it, and we will talk with you, and we will try working to understand, and we'll talk to you about what happened, where can we grow from this if you're able to, or we'll to kind of be like, all right, we'll work on it if you don't want to be the person to teach. But we are not trying to be assholes here. There are times where we may flip up because how a lot of people are raised, and there's some things we might have absorbed that we not realized it. But we try not to be racist. We try not to be sexist or homophobic or transphobic or ableist or anything, We try our best to, but, again, I will say, we're not perfect. We will probably slip up if we haven't already. But the reason why I bring this up is because Decolonizing Love brought up a really good point. But they also brought up two books about how people are calling out white people for evading accountability and using their status of minorityship to kind of deflect criticism and passive aggressiveness with white fragility. So there's Tema Akun's 16 Characteristics of White Supremacist Culture, and Robin DiAngelo's book, White Fragility, but I actually kind of want to read those books because they sound very interesting and would be a great tool for me to grow personally. But Decolonizing Love said it was very much like white people, especially white queer people, are gentrifying minorityship. And I totally understand where they're coming from, because we said this before on the podcast multiple times, that in the queer community, there is a sexism problem, there is a racism problem, and there's a transphobic problem. And not the people who see this the most are the people who are in those intersections of those groups. And I feel like, now correct me if I'm wrong on this one, but I feel like the people who get shit on the worst are either queer women of color or queer trans people of color. And that is fucking bullshit. And we'll call that out as much as we can. We're not perfect, I will say. But we've said this time and time again. That shit needs to fucking stop. We need to stop with the racism. We need to stop with the fucking bigotry within our own fucking community.
Yeah, absolutely. That is just truly appalling.
And I have seen this. I have seen this first and foremost when I was at the LGBT Student Resource Center at Penn State. Someone called out a guy who was an exchange student who was queer. I'm not going to say what for country or what or anything. I will say he was European. And when he would say something like, not okay, and people will call him out, he'll be like, but what? I'm gay. It's fine. And we're
That's
like,
not a
no,
free pass, bro.
it's not. It's like, okay, so I've read some of the old, like, gay men books because someone else showed it to me and said, look how cringy this is.
Yeah.
There was some terms. It was like a gay men's glossary or something like that. And it was just like a quick little dictionary glossary book of like terms that gay men use. And some of it was gentrifying because South Park does a really good bit where like Chef and Mr. Garrison and how like culturally a lot of black culture has been taken by gay men. And like how he like they had to change house to his house and then, like that evolution, and then when Chef says, oh, now we call it like Jubilee, and then Mr. Garrison goes, all right, Mr. Slave, come on, let's go down to the Jubilee, and Chef's like, no, stop. That happens, and you see it a lot. Like, there's a lot that like gay white men or gay white people, or beyond just what white people do, but queer white folks take from the queer black community or the queer people of color communities, because there's a lot of stuff like, and this one stuck with me from that book. There's a lot of fetishization of people of color, especially in the queer community. And someone, I can see my face going red because I'm getting mad right now. There was a term. And excuse me if this is a slur or anything. I don't really like. A man who only dates people who are Asian was referred to as a rice queen.
Wow. I mean, that's kind of like the women with only date black men being a spade, right? Like, that's a thing. A black spade.
Like Snow Bunny?
I thought it was called like a black spade.
Or something, it's something like that.
Okay, it's one of those things that it's a thing that, yes, it's a thing, but it's not usually something that you should be proud of calling.
Yes.
Because I had that conversation with somebody that I know who is a black man. I'm not going to call him out on the podcast, but I had that conversation with him about that, and I'm like, the fuck? And he's like, yeah, fucking white women. And I'm just like, dude.
Yes, because there's a lot of people who fetishize people of different cultures.
Yeah.
And like, I don't know, it irks me. But like, it's just like there's one thing if you appreciate a culture. I will say there's one thing. Like for me, it's food. I love food, and I have a soft spot for like Asian cuisine. But like, I'm not going out of my way to go out and fetishize someone because they're Asian and trying to get with them so I can have the food. I'll just learn how to cook it properly.
Mm-hmm.
And
there's a fine line between appropriation and appreciation.
Exactly. Like, am I going to go try finding a more authentic restaurant? Yes.
Absolutely.
Because I love the food. I want to support these, these like mom and pop shops who have their food being made.
Real quick, speaking of authentic shops, there's a place out in Gibsonia that I have seen that says they serve authentic Thai food. So I'm like, I want to try.
I love Thai food.
It's right off the Turnpike, if anybody is going the Turnpike that direction.
Okay. And like, there's a couple of shops near where we live, and like, I still haven't tried them, but I really want to. But like, it's the same thing as like, I'm not gonna go out and say Taco Bell's authentic Mexican food.
Absolutely not.
I'm not gonna say that. They're like Panda. Okay, like, I'm not gonna call Panda Express authentically Chinese food. It's Chinese American food, and they never say it's authentic Chinese food. And for anybody who I work for Panda Express, if anybody actually comes after me and says, "Oh, but they say," keep in mind that the family who owns and started Panda Express and Panda, the sit down restaurants in California, are Chinese American, and they actually show not what where the dishes are inspired by which different parts of Chinese cuisine are from. Sorry, but like, I love all that food, but like, I'm not gonna go out of my way and like buy a kimono, right? If I'm doing like I love Japanese food. I love I love anime. I'm a weeb. I'm not afraid to admit that. But I'm not gonna go out of my way and buy a kimono and wear it like some of these gay men have, and like especially in the 60s and 70s.
Yeah.
Like, I'm just not gonna walk around in a kimono like that. If I'm gonna wear a kimono, I'm gonna go to an event that I hopefully have been invited to. Like, and like, I'm actually going to try wearing a kimono, or probably more authentically a yukata, and actually go to an event and wear it and do it with respect. But you have all these people, and I've seen it. You have these queer white folks who say, "Oh, I'm a minority too." And the thing that pisses me off is the fact that there's levels to this thing, and we have to recognize as white queer folks, trans or not, like trans or cis, gay or straight, as white folks, we have an extra level of privilege. It doesn't matter if we're queer or not.
Yeah.
We have an extra level of privilege. And that is something that frustrates me beyond a fucking level, is a lot of white queer people don't understand.
Yeah.
Now, I will say, as a whole, it is getting better with the newer generations. Like younger millennials, Gen Z, Gen Alpha. It is getting better because a lot of us are seeing that, and we are listening to marginalized communities within our communities.
Mm-hmm.
So I will say it is getting better, but it's nowhere near hell perfect. Like, we have a long way to go still. But it's getting there. But is there anything you want to add? I feel like I just rambled over you for a minute. I'm sorry.
No, you're good. Nothing. I have nothing relevant to add right now.
Okay.
The only thing in my brain right now is I could use another cup of coffee.
That's fair. It's just it's one of those things where like it's frustrating for me because like we should be working together, and if someone says, "Hey, this is not a cool thing for you to say as a white person," what you should do, especially as a queer white person, is to shut the fuck up and listen. Try to grow as a person. It's not everything's about you. And I love what the user Decolonizing Love said with that, is because the whole gentrifying minority shit. Because I'll put it in this perspective. Before I even figured out I was queer in any fucking level, yeah, I grew up a little poor for a bit, but my life was not endangered because of the color of my skin. I didn't have to deal with that struggle.
Mhm.
Now, that there is some struggle I have to deal with being a queer trans woman, I have a struggle, but I'm not gonna make that my entire thing of like, oh, like I'm gonna call out transphobic people, I'm gonna call out homophobic people. Like I've called out homophobic people for years growing up as a kid because my mom. Um, but like while I'm calling that out, I'm also gonna call out at the same. I got one hand, I got another hand. I could do more than one call out of things. I'm gonna call out the racism and the sexism and the misogyny and every fucking thing that like I'm gonna call out bigotry as a whole. And sorry, I'm trying to say this coherently. Just because I have like I am not 100% like just because I have some semblance of a minorityship does not mean I can turn my back on other people who are struggling worse.
Mhm.
I cannot for the life of me ignore the racism in our community. And we've called it out. I don't know how many episodes we've called it out.
Yeah.
And I definitely want to and I asked permission from the user, decolonizing love, to talk about this because they brought up an excellent point, and I kind of wanted to use that as a springboard. But go watch their TikTok on this. It is if you go to their page, I'll try linking the exact video in our show notes. It's called like identity politics, and it's a big thing. Is oh well, I'm queer and white, so my struggle is the only struggle, and that's the thing that I grew up with, like feminism, and my mom is fucking white feminism ignores all the struggle of women of color.
Mhm.
It ignores all of that, and that shit pisses me off.
Because feminism's for all women, not just white
It's for
women.
everybody. It's literally for everybody. It's trying to make sure that everybody has an equal stepping point.
Yes.
And that's where I feel like it should be. Is everybody should be on an equal playing field. But some of that stuff is going to look a little different per person to give them that equal level playing field. Like, and I'll admit, we haven't been super vocal on this. We've talked about it in a couple episodes here and there. But, like, disability rights and disability equality is fucking horrible. And that needs to be worked on as well.
There's no marriage equality until disabled people can get married and keep their benefits.
And I feel like we've talked about that a couple of times, but not as much as we probably should. And we're going to talk about that a little more. But we need to. We need to. And I tried to do. For a lot of people who may not see what I do a lot outside the podcast. Don't talk a lot about it. But there are stuff I try doing. I write to a lot of officials. I donate to organizations as much as I can when money's not tight. I do a lot in the shadows that I don't project on a lot of things because I don't want to be like, look at all this great work we're doing. Look at all this that I'm doing. Everybody pay attention to me. No, that's not why I do it. I do it to try helping people. And if I'm ignored, if all my work is ignored and nobody knows what I've done, I know what I've done. And I know that I've done a little, even the little bit that I can do or try to do helps.
Yeah.
And that's part of the reason why we started this podcast, is because there is an intersectionality with cannabis and the LGBT community, but we talk about, the minorities within our group. We talk about, the war on drugs and how that's negatively impacted people of color, disabled people, queer folks, but more often than not, people of color. Because fucking Nixon's aide has even said, we made weed Schedule 1 so we can go against our political enemies and people of color.
Mhm.
Like, fucking bullshit. I know I just went on, like, pretty much a 30-minute rant. But, like, I can feel my cheeks being hot. I can see on our camera. Like, my fucking face is red as hell.
Yeah.
But, like, it's just... we shouldn't be doing this shit.
Whoops.
But we shouldn't be doing this shit, and it's horrible. And we need to fix it. But we can't fix it unless everybody is on board to fix it.
Yes.
Or at least a lot of us are on board to fix it. So, go watch the TikTok, see what I'm talking about. And if you are a queer white person, and you don't think, oh, that's not me, or I've never done that, more likely you have.
Mm.
And you're just too proud or arrogant to admit. Because I'll admit, I can't think of anything. That doesn't mean I haven't done it. I've probably fucked up and said some shit. But I try my best to unlearn it. I try my best to grow from it.
And that's what's important.
Exactly. And
Is you learn from it and become a better person.
yeah, and again, if we ever say anything on the show, please call us out on it. And we will try our best not to say shit. Because I don't want to continue the history of it being of the whole microaggressions and the racism and the sexism. I don't want to keep that pattern. And I feel like that's been a big stigma that I've had to fight, being someone who's British, and B, someone who grew up in the South. So, that being said, I think we're at a good point to end the episode here.
I think so too.
For those of you who are new, or those who are unaware, hit us up at smokingoutthecloset@gmail.com. We have our Instagram. We have our X. We don't use our Twitter or X as much, just because that's been a cesspool of garbage.
We're shooting it like our ex and keeping it as far away from us as possible right now.
But we're pretty much Smoking Out the Closet everywhere. If you Google Smoking Out the Closet, you'll find all our social media pages. We do have a YouTube. We are slowly building up. I just got to convert I only did the first 5 episodes. With this episode, I have 104 episodes to convert to video format.
I think I need to update our link tree in our Instagram bio, but we did have a link tree in our Instagram bio.
We still do.
I need to update it, I think, with our new... Don't we have any new profiles and things to add?
I just kept it mostly for, like, where to listen to the show.
Okay.
But I have the app connected on my phone for it. But yeah, we're pretty much Smoking Out the Closet at everything. Hit us up if you have any questions or any topics you want us to talk about. Definitely hit us up on that, and we'll see you all in the next episode.
Bye-bye.
Bye.